Hey, and welcome to the Izi Chinchay Show.
I have learned so many incredible lessons and have been given the opportunity to develop myself outside of my athletic ability because of those injuries.
I am so pumped that you tuned in. My goal with the show is to inspire and motivate you to the best of my abilities. I believe our world needs more leaders, and I believe that you, my listener, are a leader, and that you have the opportunity to impact your community and family by simply being you. I truly am here to try and serve and offer value to your life. And if you enjoy the show, it would mean the most to me if you could please either rate, subscribe, or share the show with anyone who you think might benefit from listening. Together, we can make this world a better place. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you love today's episode.
Welcome to the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast. I'm Steve Galley, and I'm here with Nate Crandall, and we are so privileged today to have Izi Chinchay with us. Hi, Izi.
Hi, I feel privileged to be on your guys' show. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So we're gonna jump right into things. You have played at 4 different levels. I guess 5 if we count youth soccer.
True.
But club soccer, high school soccer, junior college, semi-pro, and Division I.
That's correct.
And this was not easy for you. I'm just going to let you go here and give us a little overview of your history. I've read about it and I've talked to you a little bit about it. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So I grew up playing soccer. I loved the sport. My dad introduced me to the sport. I wasn't allowed to play on club teams though until I was actually much older. I wasn't even 14 till I joined my first club team. And what's funny is by the time I was allowed to have the opportunity to play on a club team, no club teams would actually even let me try out because they're like, you have no experience. We're not going to even let you have a tryout. I know it's crazy, but I had one coach, he was very generous and, gave me the opportunity and, I quickly was able to kind of climb the ropes and then, jumped into high school. And then after I had my first high school season, all those club coaches who said, no, you can't play for us, came back around and were like, hey, we have a spot for you. You want to come out and play? And I was like, no, absolutely not. So high school played. Unfortunately, in my junior year, I got a really bad injury. I tore my quad, which was incredibly painful and unfortunate. Ow. Yeah, spent a long time trying to come back from that. Then I tore my ACL, which was obviously devastating because I had just gotten back from that tear, but I just kept chasing the dream. My first Division I offer was when I was a junior and I got an offer to play at Sac State. That's out in California, Division I. But due to the injury and everything, it just didn't make sense for me to commit. So I ended up going to a junior college, and that was Folsom Lake Junior College, which it's an incredible junior college program. Feel very blessed that I even had that opportunity to go play there. But once I got there, I was, trying to continue improving, in my career. But my injury of the quad tear just wasn't letting me function the way that I need to. I was a striker, and the wear and tear that it has on your body to be a striker, to hit the ball, to sprint nonstop is extreme. And my body basically just could not handle it. And so the trainer was like, you need to switch positions. And I was like, what, you want me to be a defender? I'm not going to go any less hard. And I realized in that moment, okay, I'm going to be a goalie. So I was in college and I had played a striker my entire life and I switched to goalie. So for anyone listening who thinks they started too late, just listen to that. I was in college and I switched to goalie and then started playing, semi-pro as a goalie, and then COVID shut down, and then I still got a Division I scholarship to play goalie out in Tennessee. So kind of a crazy soccer story, but just never given up on the dream. So yeah.
Good for you. That's like heroic. I love the resilience that you show there. That's an incredible attribute. And that's a huge testament to why you've had the success you've had.
Thank you.
One of my favorite things to ask when we get like high level athletes that come on, especially ones that have played at the levels that you've played at, what's the funniest story you've seen? Like in a game, like practice, just like you were just rolling.
Okay, so because I had not played goalie, I hadn't played goalie, so I didn't really know the position all the way. I was in a college game, and when you get like pick up the ball in your hands as a goalie, and then you distribute it, and you put out your feet to distribute, you cannot pick the ball back up. Like that's against the rules. Well, I had never been a goalie, so I set the ball down. And I was like, okay. And I was like, all right, never mind. I'm just going to pick it back up. And then the ref, blows the whistle and comes running over. I'm like, what? Like, what? I had no idea. My coaches are screaming. They're freaking out. They're like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. Like, this is my second game, but I'm playing in college. Like, I got the starting position just off of athleticism and determination. But I didn't know that. And I just remember being like, I cannot get scored on right now. Like they got a kick in the box, indirect in the box. And fortunately, one of my defenders blocked the shot with her butt, actually. So I was like, that's my funny story. But
her butt saved your butt?
Her butt saved my butt. Exactly. So that's probably my funniest soccer story.
Oh, man. Was that like super embarrassing? Did your teammates give you all kinds of crap after the game?
I made about 17 saves that game, so they did not at all.
All right. So any ribbing would have been very good natured.
Yep. And we won the game, so it worked out.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Did one of those, when that happened, when the official, I don't know all of the soccer rules. I only know one of the rules that I would like to get rid of, and that's offsides. But did you get a card for that, or was it just a?
I did not get a card. I think he really
should have got a card. You should have given him a piece of your mind. You should have gotten a card.
I didn't know. I did not, but I think he was like, this girl really didn't know. And I was like, yep, had no clue. So
have you ever got a red card?
I had never gotten a red card. And I won 3 yellows in my entire history of playing.
Okay.
And one of them was when I was 6. And I was like, who gives a 6-year-old a yellow card? Because the parents were complaining. So
that story's got to be. Do you remember that? Like, do you remember that experience? What happened?
I just remember, so I grew up playing with my brother and my dad. So it was just all about being really tough. And I was just playing this little game. And I just slam kids and, go after the ball. And these moms like, you better watch her, ref. You better call her. I'm 6 years old. And so I got a call. Yeah. And then my second one was actually a handball. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to picture you out there just playing like so you played against like your big brother, your dad. So you're used to the physical play.
Yeah. You have 7. By the way, you have 7 siblings.
7 siblings. Yes. And I was
okay.
Homeschooled. So during my upbringing, we would just go to the park and we would use anything for little goalposts. We'd use water bottles. We'd use, shoes, and we would just play on the entire field. We didn't have an inbounds, out of bounds, like nothing. It was all just like try and score. I didn't even know all the rules of soccer, but I knew that I wanted to train. I knew I wanted to, go Division I very early on. So I was like, I gotta be resourceful, right? When you don't have the resources, you be resourceful. So I'm
just trying to picture you just trucking some little 6-year-old princess. Her parents have her in club soccer because, who knows why. She's got her Barbies on the sideline.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Izzy, earlier you mentioned a coach. Is this Dean Freeman, the coach that?
Dean Freeman. Yes. Yeah. That was
Tell us about Dean Freeman.
I love Dean. Dean is the one who gave me the shot to play on his club team. And he just said, yeah, sure, kid. You can come. You can try out. Absolutely. And then, quickly realized I was, very athletic and was like, yeah, you're raw. You need to sharpen a lot of skills, but we'll put you on the team. And so very grateful for Dean. I'm still in touch with Dean. We have a great friendship. Very grateful for his coaching.
Terrific. So you you played at Middle Tennessee State, which is so cool because they are the Blue Raiders,
Yes.
which is I mean,
Raiders.
I love the Raiders. I mean, I don't know about the word blue in front of it. Actually, I am kind of singing the blues because being a Raider fan the last 20 some years or whatever is
his rival
rough.
high school. When he coached high school basketball, his rival high school, their color was blue.
Oh, okay.
So that's the reluctance to accept the blue part of things.
Yeah. So you've played at all these different levels. You obviously love the sport, and you had this influence from, I'm assuming, from your dad, your brother, Dean Freeman, other coaches. Why did you decide to, you've been a high school coach for 10 years. Why did you decide to go from player to coach? Why do you coach?
That's a great question. Yeah, I've been, like you said, I've been coaching for, over 10 years. I always did it on the side, in little leagues and private training sessions. As I, embarked on my Division I journey, I started to face the reality that I was very unhappy being a goalie. I didn't enjoy that. I wanted to be scoring goals, not stopping them. So it's very painful to not be able to do what I felt like I was best at, what I was most passionate about. I would actually have nightmares about, playing soccer, and I would be a forward, and I would wake up in the nightmares that I'm actually a goalie in real life. Oh. And so that was a really tough thing. It was very heartbreaking for me. If you're someone who is in love with your sport, then that pain of oh my gosh, I can't do it. So that was something that was really hard. So I basically started to come to the realization that, I could make this sacrifice and, fight this out for another 10 years and, try and go all the way and be miserable. And to me, I started to face that. And I actually had a mentor who he was a big football player. He got All-American at Alabama, and he's older now. But his name was Gil Wesley. And I called him up one day, and I was like, am I supposed to be hating what I'm doing? Because I feel like I actually hate every single day, even when I'm doing well, even when I'm having success. And he was like, no. No, that's just not how it's supposed to be. And so that reality started to sink in. I began to, realize I need to make a decision, or I was going to be miserable for a very long time. And I decided that I would give the season my all. And if I was not enjoying it by the end of the season, I would not re-sign. And so that's exactly what I did, which was a very tough decision to make, because at this point, for the last 15 years, soccer was my entire life, is my entire identity. If you ask me who I was, I would say I was a soccer player. I wouldn't say anything else. I am a soccer player. That is who I am. And that was a very hard decision to make, but it was the right decision to make. I knew that was the decision I need to make for my life. And I continued coaching immediately after, and, started to really find that I was so passionate about helping other players reach their goals. I was like, maybe I didn't go all the way that I thought was where I was going to go with it. Maybe, I thought I was going to go pro, and I was like, but I can still help other players, reach their goals. And that is so fulfilling. And so I just started pouring everything into becoming a better coach, to working with players on the recruitment side, and on the training development side, which is what I did this morning for a couple hours. Coached a bunch of kids.
Good for you.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into that recruiting side of things a little bit later. I want to ask you about the end of your career. This just popped into my mind. Nate and I just recently recorded an episode where we answered a question from a father whose daughter has been this competition dancer for years, and she's now in her senior year, and she may be continuing on in college, may not. And he was wondering, how do we handle this possible ending? Because at some point our careers end, right? we play our last game, we sing our last song, we do our last play, whatever. You played your last soccer match.
Yes.
What if you were working with some, well, let's go with a high schooler, working with a high schooler, and it clearly their career is going to end. They're not going to have the opportunity to play in college. Based on your experience, what would you say to that kid?
I mean, I think that's a great question. I think there's a couple layers to it, and a lot of it starts earlier on than getting to that point. If you've gotten to that point and it's all of a sudden hitting you, oh my gosh, this isn't going to be the rest of my life. That's going to be a really hard pill to swallow. I think it comes from, coaches and parents and other influences along the way saying, hey, you're great at this. You're doing this. We love that you do this. This isn't who you are, and making sure that they have an identity outside of it. So that's the first piece that I would say is that, like, that's that identity chunk that you got to work on in the beginning. But if it, for some athletes, it is sudden. It is a career ending injury or just crazy life change that all of a sudden it is going to end. And that is where it's like, where can you shift it and still have that sport, have that passion be a part of your life? Just maybe not in the way that you thought it was, but maybe that's through coaching, through helping other people reach their goals, because that is so fulfilling to help other people in their journey. You guys know, you're coaches, you know the amount of fulfillment you get in helping others reach their goals. And then also still staying in it, still playing whatever that sport is. It's just not at that same level, but still go train, get on the ball with some friends, go play some pickup leagues, go play some rec. Like, don't boycott the sport just because it hurt you. And, I actually did that for a while. I felt like, I didn't even want to touch a soccer ball for like 3 months after, because it brought so much pain up. But like this idea that I was going to be this forward, and then I had to have the breakup there, and then be this, be a goalie, and then this entire identity breakup is what I call it, really. And so I would just try and stay away from it. And I don't think that's healthy. I think it would have been better to be like, no, it's okay. This is still a part of your life. It's just going to be a little bit different than you thought. So it'd be kind of my advice there. That's a great question.
What helps kids to develop an identity outside of their sport?
Another great question. I think there's a couple of pieces to that. I think it's thinking about a vision outside of themselves, right? Because what happens is kids and athletes, we become so self-centered, and then everything becomes contingent on our performance within our sport. So I'm going to have a good day or a bad day based on how I trained. Right. I'd had a poor training session. I had a bad day. My self-worth is low. I don't feel good about myself. Opposed to, okay, maybe that training session wasn't that great. That doesn't mean that your entire day is ruined. Your entire weekend isn't ruined with people who especially have games on the weekends. I used to be that way. I would have a game. If I lost that game, I didn't play the way that I thought I should have, or as well. I was like hours. And the next day I was like, oh, I just got to go train for 8 hours, instead of being like, what are the good that, came out of it. And then service. I think when you start to think about other people, it's not all about just you. It's easier to not just think about you, right? And you can think about your identity outside of you. And so a way that I do that with my athletes is at the end of every training session, they tell me one person that they're serving.
Wow.
Who have you
like
serving?
you ask them that, so the kids you work with, you wrap up a training session and say, who are you serving?
We did that this morning. I had 7 kids
So
in my lab.
powerful.
And they go around. A lot of times it's like their mom, their dad, their brother. And so it gets out of them out of themselves, like, oh, I'm also someone who gives to other people, right? I'm someone who shows up for other people. So that's my process. And also when my athletes check in, we actually didn't do it today, but more often than not, they say these 4 things. They say, I thank myself for being here today. I'm going to get better today. I'm going to help someone get better today. And I'm going to be a leader today. And so I try to cultivate that you're a leader, and you're also someone who served and add value to other people's lives. And if you're thinking about yourself in that way, it's going to help with that, identity of just a soccer player. No, I have these other pieces. It's bigger than me.
But here's what I love about that. Like I caught three things in there. You creating the vision beyond,
Yes.
having a vision that's bigger than just the sport or being a player. Two, the serving others. And then three, affirming the complete person.
Yes. Yeah.
Because leader goes beyond your sport. Leader is somebody that shows up in Izzy, I admire the heck out of that. That sounds like a terrific coaching approach. And I love what you're bringing to the table.
Good.
That definitely will help kids with that identity thing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. That is the hope. That is the vision with that for sure. We need more leaders.
Hey, if you chase that with the tenacity that you've shown in your career, it's going places.
Thank you. Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, are you ready for a hard question?
Yes, bring it on.
Not everybody likes this question, but and you may have already actually discussed it, but I will tell you, I ask this to all of my one-on-one clients. I only ask it to strong people though. So
okay,
that's why I'm asking it to you, Izzy. What is your greatest loss and overall in life? It doesn't have to be soccer related. What is your greatest loss, and have you found the gift in that loss? And if so, what is it?
That's another great question. I think that I have felt for a long time that injury has been my greatest loss. I have had 4 knee surgeries. I've torn both ACLs, my quad, and I just had a knee surgery 2 months ago. For me, that feels like at times that is a loss, because I feel I did lose out on this career, this athletic career that I truly envisioned for myself. But just the other day, I was thinking, there are so many lessons that I have learned, and at the same time, it does feel like a loss, and it is really, really hard. However, I have learned so many incredible lessons and have been given the opportunity to develop myself outside of my athletic ability because of those injuries. Right. And I feel I have lost a lot of time as far as just competing. I'm a natural competitor and I absolutely love it. But man, sitting out and having to think about who I am outside of my sport, who am I outside of a competitive athlete has blessed me more than cost me. So, but I would say that's probably one of my bigger losses, just, so many injuries.
Wow. Hey, Izzy, one of the things we like to talk about on our shows, we talk about equipping, encouraging, and empowering our kids. How did your parents help equip, encourage, and empower you as you dealt with that journey through injuries?
I think I did have support from them for sure. And then I think after a certain amount of time, it was like, I do feel as if I faced a lot of it on my own. Mm-hmm. And I actually think that did empower me and equip me, because I did have to face some of it on my own. In the beginning, though, I will say my mom was very proactive, and she always talked about, when you're dealing with doctors, you have to advocate for yourself. You have to push back, because they often will just tell you the first thing that's easiest. Like, they're seeing however many people in a day, they're jam-packed, and sometimes they won't really look into what's actually going on. And I had a very unique injury with the quad tear. That's something I fought for years. And my mom was very helpful in saying, like, hey, every time you go to the doctor, like, push back, ask them again, ask them if they had a daughter, what advice would they give her? And that was something that was very, very helpful that she taught me. And it also enraged me when I would talk to a doctor and they would say something. I said, okay, and if this was your daughter? And then their story would change. And it's like, that just hit a fire in me. Like, what is wrong with you? And their story would change. So that was something that was very, very helpful that my mom kind of, taught me in that process.
Nice little nugget there too.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for your honesty in that, because I one of the things that Steve and I encounter a lot is parents that almost feel like they have to do everything for their kids. And sometimes that space where they're not doing things can be the most empowering.
Yes, because otherwise you're just going to enable your child to do everything, and they don't learn those lessons on their own. So yeah, of course.
Well, and they probably identified your tenacity and your willingness to go. And it's like, hey, we can give her some space and just allow her to be her. And through not even trying, they ended up empowering you because they trusted your tenacious nature.
Exactly, the confidence. And they had, 7 other kids. It wasn't that they don't have,
they're probably busy with a couple others.
Yeah, they were going through a divorce at that time too.
Oh, so my gosh.
Divorce was about 15, so it made it very tough for them to also manage what was going on with me. But they did everything that they could for sure. But yeah,
where do you fit in that?
I'm number 3, so I have 5 younger. Yes.
Okay.
5 younger.
I'm a psychology guy. Like I got my master's in psychology, so I kind of nerd out on like birth order and all the psychology stuff.
It's interesting. Well,
it further adds to the depth of what you bring to your clients, though. That experience, going through divorce, because that takes a lot of guts and resilience. And then with your career and the injuries and pushing yourself to the level that you got to, like, that's the total package you're bringing to those kids you're coaching.
Thank you. That's the hope. We're trying to serve the most, bring the most value.
Keep it up.
Well, I trust that you're fully healed, because when I'm right now, my right quad is like, I have a shooting pain in my right quad. Every time you say you tore your quad, I've torn a hammy and a calf.
Ooh.
I don't know. I'm suppose they probably all hurt, but the quad is such a large muscle.
Yes.
That I think it might be our largest muscle. And ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I when that injury happened, I did not have the patience to sit out as long as I needed to let that heal. And that is ultimately what cost me, because I kept on trying to push through and push through and push through. I just didn't have the maturity to sit out, as long as I needed to originally. Because you can actually still see the quad tear on my quad. There's still like a little pocket in it that's like visible. That's how severe the tear was.
Do you retell this story to players that you train and coach who are going through injuries, and you can see that they are maybe trying to come back too soon?
Yes, I try and really monitor that on a lot of my athletes, especially the very tough ones, because I was always under the mentality that I had to push through anything. Like anytime I was uncomfortable was time to dig in and push. And there's a lot of value there. And I think that, more kids need that than don't at this point. However, there's also that piece of listening to your body. Okay, when am I pushing through actual pain opposed to my legs are burning? And when do you need to slow up a little bit? And I think that, that is what cost me a lot and caused a lot of injuries, is just going so hard. It's like I didn't have self-control. Every practice, every training, every game to me was like the World Cup final. I love that about myself. That helps me, but it caused injuries for sure. But it all worked out.
Speaking of injuries. Oh, well, before we go to this injury angle, if you check out Izi's website, which is pushthegoal.com, you will see pictures of her not playing soccer. Do you know what I'm talking about, Izi?
Jiu-jitsu?
Jiu-jitsu. Yeah. In fact, I was like,
yes.
When I was looking at the pictures, it's like, I'm not going to get on the soccer field with her.
Yes.
I would walk away with an injury. Tell us a little bit about your entry into jiu-jitsu. Why do you do it? What do you love about it?
Yeah, well, natural competitor. As soon as I left soccer, I was like, I need something. You go from the space of competing almost every single day for hours, on the field. I was like, there's got to be something else. So I very quickly found jiu-jitsu. I always liked combatives. I always liked martial arts. My brother and I would always, practice fighting things together, all the time, whenever we could. We're always wrestling and fighting, and I just jumped straight into it. And it's actually where I met my fiance. He was teaching a class, so it worked out great. And if I hadn't left the team and, re-signed, I wouldn't have even met him. So yeah, it all works out.
Everything happens for a reason.
Exactly. And I love jiu-jitsu. I love it. I have jiu-jitsu mats in my garage.
What's your favorite thing about it?
I love that it requires creativity. You have to be creative in it. And that's also what I loved about soccer when I was on the field. As a field player, I feel like I was so creative. I feel like that's why I didn't like goalie as much. It wasn't as creative. You're just destroying more than creating. You have to block and shut down. I'm a visionary, and I love to create and try something new and do it a different way. And I love that about running around the field, being creative. And I think jiu-jitsu is similar. When you're rolling with someone. That's what we call it when you're basically wrestling. You just call it rolling. You have to be creative. How am I going to get out of this? How am I going to put them in this without them thinking that I'm going to do it? You got to use those creative juices, and I really enjoy that piece of it. It's fun.
Are we going to see you in the octagon?
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, I really wanted to get into that. And then I got this knee injury. I was like, maybe God was just telling me, no. I was like, okay.
Not quite that level.
I compete in jiu-jitsu, but, and I do love to spar and do some boxing and stuff like that, but I don't think we'll do that.
Does your fiance, do you guys spar?
He goes easy on me, but
Okay.
Yes.
That's a great date right there.
It's so fun. It is so fun. Yeah, I feel very blessed. I enjoy it.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I mean, do you have a date? Do you have
Yeah, April 27th. April 27th. We'll be getting married. So.
Very nice.
Yes. Have you guys ever tried combatives or any kind of jiu-jitsu? No.
Does this look like?
No. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Early in my career, I was an assistant coach. We chased a ref into an office in a locker room. That was
Okay, I haven't heard this story. I've not heard that story.
Well, I'm surprised that he even made it out of the arena into his dressing room because he's blind. I'm convinced he was legally blind because only a blind person could make the series of calls he made at the end of the game.
Okay.
Hey, I was just supporting our head coach at the time.
Okay.
And yeah, he took off after him, and I just thought, well, I better follow him. And yeah, our head coach was chasing down these officials after this horrific ending. And yeah, it wasn't my proudest moment.
Okay.
Definitely learned from it. But I didn't know what he was doing. He took off, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're not going to shake hands with the opponents. And he's like chasing him. I'm like, I better go protect him. And I actually helped him get his arm out of a door. They shut his arm on the door, in the door. And I was like, I put my arm in there. He pulled his arm out, and then my arm was stuck in the door.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then we got called to the principal's office the next morning.
Yeah.
And that was something I was familiar with. So that was no big deal being in the principal's office. So we worked it out. But we love the word create, Izzy. So when you were talking about creating on offense, which if I played soccer, I would have to play striker. I'd have to play offense. I wouldn't want to play defense. I wouldn't want to be in the goal.
Yeah.
But is there anything creative about being a goalie besides wearing a really, really cool jersey?
Yes, absolutely. And it's funny, like I love to coach my goalies. I have so many goalies that I coach with, I've worked with for, a long time and pretty closely. And I absolutely love coaching it. It's so fun. I always liked the training more than games as a goalie. because the training, it's like you gotta dive all over the place and make it saves, but you're kind of more confined. I always felt more confined in the actual games, but the trainings were really fun. But absolutely, there's ways to be creative. I think especially on the build out, when you are on the attack, there's ways that, you're going to manipulate the offense, and you're going to try and drag them to one side and then play quickly out the other. And that is a piece of it that I loved. I love to do that. And I would freak my team out, and, people watching. I remember my dad would be like, "What are you doing?" Because I would dribble it up as a goalie up down the field. He'd be like, "You make me so nervous. Why do you do that?" And I was just like, "I have to. I love to do it. I can do it." I felt confident. I was like, at my heart, I was still a field player. I was like, "This is easy. Like, I know how to dribble around people. Like, I got this." Yeah. So definitely did some risky things, dribbling out of the back, but that was always fun.
What's it like to be a goalie in penalty kick situation?
Ooh.
Where I want to make sure I'm using the right language. By the way, do you call it a soccer game or a soccer match?
Match. But you can say game. You can say either.
Okay, so you're in a soccer match and it goes to, am I saying this right? It goes to penalty kicks or goes to a shootout?
Yeah, I actually never faced I've had to block a penalty before. I never went to a full shootout before. I always liked it. I like when the pressure's on. I like when stakes are high. I like to, try and get in the other person's head and, make them feel like they're about to lose to me. That's just kind of my style. So I enjoy it. I enjoyed it when it happened, but I never had a full shootout, but I think I would have enjoyed it a lot.
Yes, I'm sure you would have. I have a question about back to the injury thing. Do you think that it will ever be possible for the men of men's soccer to quit faking injuries on the pitch and to actually toughen up like the women in soccer?
Great question. I think at this point, no, unless, once they develop AI technology to, probably an extent that it's, monitoring the games and the refs get way more feedback. They'd have to change a lot about the game, I think, to be able to monitor that more. It's just if there was a big culture shift, then possibly, but overall, no, it's part of it.
No hope for the men. I always love it when I see a replay and there's like inches. There is a huge gap between the supposed contact to the shin or the leg or whatever. And it's like, he actually did not even get touched on that.
And my thing is, like, you're being videoed. We're going to all watch the replay and be like, "You're a fake. You are a fraud." And they still do it. But yeah, I don't think there's any hope there.
Okay, you don't look old enough to have been coaching for 10 years.
I'm 24. I was coaching. Yeah.
So you started coaching team and players young.
Very young. And I actually also coached some fitness classes of adults when I was like 14 or 15. Yeah, so I was always coaching. I was very young coach.
Terrific.
Yes.
When did you're a high school coach now?
Yes.
How long have you been coaching at that level?
At the high school, I only came in over the summer. Summer. Yeah.
So just getting started in there?
Yes, I have avoided it for a very long time. I like the training. I like training players more and group training sessions more. The actual team. I do like working with teams, but dealing with I think we lose sight of what's really important often in these, high school leagues and these club leagues. So I like to be on the other side of like, come to me and let me support you in the training and developing these skills, opposed to think about, developing a program out is all consuming, right? You have to think about so many dynamics of within the team, within the coaching staff, within your captain, within your back line, within your front line, the midfield, there's so many different things. You're cultivating, the correct energy, culture. There's so many pieces to it that for me, I don't get to work as much on like the the details of training, which I'm very passionate about, and I really enjoy that. So I do enjoy that piece of it. They're just very different, and I avoided it for a long time, but we're in it now. In it now.
Have you got to have a parent meeting yet?
I am really lucky that the other coach, he managed. And I told him that early on. I was like, I'm not going to do that. And that's just not my style. I'll work on building relationships. You guys know as coaches, relationships is everything. And so I'll work on that on the back end, connecting with different parents and stuff. But I was like, I'm not going to sit here and listen to a bunch of complaints. You can send me an email if you have something to say. and condense that to a text, and then I'll see if it's valid. To answer your question, no. But sure, you guys get a lot of that.
Oh, we've had a little bit.
A little bit.
Nate, you got anything?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something, Steve.
No, I thought Nate was going to ask another follow-up question.
No, I was ready for you to go.
Okay, so let's say you were going to have a parent meeting. Let's say you were fortunate that you only had 5 minutes. This is a 5-minute parent meeting. What would you want those parents to know? What would you want our listeners to know that have kids in soccer, we have all sorts of performers in different activities, different sports. From your experience as a player and as a coach and trainer, where do they really need to focus with their young performers and athletes?
So you're saying if I'm telling them what I want them to focus on their own kids?
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the doctor's office. I really like that. So let's change this up. What if you are if and when you have kids, what are you going to what does he need to learn from from you?
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do as a parent for them?
How am I going to parent my kids, are you saying? Or
yeah, because okay. I was initially thinking, okay, what would you tell the parents what they should do?
But now just okay.
Yeah, what would you do? Because now we're going to be talking about your daughter or your son.
Yeah.
So now it changes, right? Just like the doctor's office.
Oh yeah, I'm like, oh okay. That I like that. I think one of the something that goes back to my childhood, something that I am grateful that was instilled in me from my mom, was teaching me to have confidence in my ability to figure it out.
Ooh.
Whatever I faced. Have confidence in your ability to figure it out. So it doesn't matter what comes your way, you can figure out a solution. You can figure out a way out of something or a way into something. And that's like one of the things that especially as being an entrepreneur, that's like the essence of it, right? You have to just figure it out, whatever it is, whatever's, challenges in your way. So that's like the first thing, is instill a confidence in, their own ability to figure it out. The second thing that I would say, and this is something I teach the kids that I work with now often, is you have to learn to be your best promoter, because no one is going to want you to win, is going to want you to succeed more than you are going to want yourself to win and succeed. And so you have to learn how to promote yourself, how to put yourself out there, how to sell yourself to someone, how to say, yeah, I belong here. Yeah, I can add value here. And that goes a long way, especially when I, teach my athletes. I tell them how to, you have to promote yourself to coaches. This is for the rest of your life, the next job that you want, right? The next, connection that you need for something. You have to be able to promote yourself, explain why, you add value here, why you are someone of value. So those would be the first two. And then the last one I would say is be service, have a servant's mindset. How can you help other people? How are you adding value to someone else's life? And when you think like that, you become a leader, right? Because you're thinking about, how can I help so-and-so? How can I help this entire team? And how can I help my mom today? How can I help my dad? And get them to stop like thinking about themselves. And my mom used to say that to me all the time. She said, the world doesn't revolve around you. I heard that all the time. The world does not revolve around you. And it couldn't, not when you have that many siblings. But that's, something that's, I'm very grateful. And I try, and that goes back to like the end of my coaching sessions with my kids. I'm like, who are you going to serve? Who are you going to show up for? It's not all about you.
I absolutely love it. That's how you wrap up your sessions with them. So if you let's hit this recruiting angle, because I know we're going to have listeners that this is a hot topic, and you have experience in this because you could have quit many times.
Yes.
And I'm actually looking at your career. You actually probably started playing real competitively much later.
Much later
than many
14
right. So what are some things that parents need to do? What are some things that the athletes can do themselves to promote themselves?
Well, it's right there. Promote yourself. I love that. And I think that comes down to being resourceful, especially if someone doesn't have money or connections to, pay for recruiting agencies or pay to be on these, very elite clubs and go to these expensive, ID camps. When you don't have the resources, you have to be resourceful. And that's what I did. I was sending emails, when I was 14 or 15 years old to all kinds of colleges. And I was talking to all kinds of coaches like, hey, this is who I am. This is where I play. I would send so many emails. And that's what I ended up doing once I was in junior college. And that's what got me a Division I scholarship, is by sending emails. I just reached out. MTSU had never, ever seen me play. We didn't have a visit, nothing. I put myself out there. I made a highlight video. I sent it to them. I said, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. And I put myself out there. And I think we are too cautious now to put ourselves out there. We're so afraid of rejection, right? We don't want to be, well, what do I do? What if they say no? Yeah, so what? Of course. Not everyone's going to respond to your email. That's why we follow up 5 times, right? It doesn't matter. You follow up. And so you have to not take that rejection or that lack of response as rejection. It's just they didn't get to it, and that's fine. Keep showing up. Keep putting yourself out there. Get yourself in front of them. I tell my kids all the time, like, post on your social media, right? If you are a kid that has media, have it be a highlight reel of the kind of player that you are. Put it all over the place. Make it very clear. Make a highlight reel. Then email that to the coaches. I have a very specific process that I have a lot of my athletes follow. And it's just making a list of colleges in different divisions and then going after them and sending emails with their highlight video. And that's all it is. And that's all that I did. But I'm like, I am the proof that this worked. I didn't have the opportunities that all these other kids had, like, especially when I was younger. I didn't get to play club. I had to go play at this rec league that I got to play in a couple weeks out of the year. And then I played at the park with my friends, but I believed in myself. And I didn't say, oh, it's not going to happen for me. I was like, okay, I better train way harder than everyone else, because I know I don't have those opportunities. And then I better reach out to every single school I can find. And that's exactly what I did. And that's why I got a scholarship. And then when I was 15, but then I ended up not taking it because of injury and everything like that. So be tenacious.
And that's so, like, the kids that come to you, you work with them specifically on doing that recruiting.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If parents were interested, some of the parents in here listening are interested in reaching out to you with help on that process, where would they go to find you?
They could go to Push the Goal. They could go to pushthegoal.com. I also have IziChinchay.com. They can go there, but Push the Goal, that's all like a soccer-based website, but I help just with recruiting in general. Or, Instagram or Facebook. It's just Izi Chinchay, IziChinchay. a unique name for sure.
Very unique.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to get in touch with me.
That's
and
cool.
You also have
you also have
a
setup where you could, you like have the the format and everything, they just follow what you have done. And
yep, that's exactly, and that's what I want for these kids. Like, I'm like, I don't want to sit here and just have your teach your parent how to do this for you. You need to do this for yourself.
I like that.
You need to reach out to these coaches, because that's what parents are like. Oh, I emailed the school, and I was like, no, that's not good enough. And also, the coach doesn't want to hear from you. They want to hear from you. Like, really, truly, the coach does not want to hear from the parent. They'd rather hear from the player saying, like, hey, you know, I'm out here. But there's that piece of I don't want to do it. Mom can just reach out and send an email. No, you send the email. You make your list. Did you make your list? And it helps them with their life, like taking ownership of their life. It's not just like, oh, maybe an opportunity will come my way. You are making a list of these schools, and you are reaching out to these coaches, and you are following up with these coaches because you are pursuing your dreams. Your mom isn't doing it for you. Your dad isn't doing it for you. It's on you. And that's kind of my philosophy. I'm like, this is going to teach you how to go after anything that you want in life. You have to make a list, tackle it, contact, and wait till the door opens or the window, whatever it is.
The utility entrance on the back.
Exactly.
Whatever opens, take it.
That is exactly it. Yeah. So
Awesome.
That's kind of my philosophy on it.
See, this is the girl that I see in the jujitsu pictures. This is the drive and the tenacity that I mean, it just oozes out of her.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
It's awesome. Tell us about the Izi Chinchay Show, because I think it's the only one on earth.
It is the only one on earth. Yeah, that is my podcast. It's solo shows, and then I interview athletes, entrepreneurs, and coaches. So I'll have to get you guys on my show as well. Yeah. So that's the genre, and it's, you know, the goal is truly to inspire people to become more leaders, to make the world a better place. I think we are this space where we need more leaders. We need more people who are going to take action, you know, within their families, within their communities, and make the world a better place. And that is my mission with everything that I do, and definitely the podcast.
Well, I want some more inspiration. So and this is a question I was thinking about earlier. What do you say to because Nate and I were both in this situation in basketball where and it's similar to soccer, where you have very few players on the field. And in some high schools, in some situations, you have lots of players that try out. So you have cuts, you have players that do not make it. Mm-hmm. And you have players in younger ages that as they move up, the group gradually gets whittled down.
Yes.
And so what would you say to a young player who is borderline, or I don't know if you've been in this situation with a player where you're training and then they get cut? That is so hard. I know Nate and I hated making cuts in basketball. It's painful. What would you say to that kid, or what could parents say to that kid?
I mean, I that resonates with me because that is hard. That's partly why I do what I do. There are kids who don't make those teams, and if they don't, I want them to have other resources, right? There are other training facilities. Right now we're in this dangerous space where it's like either, you know, you're elite or like the sport doesn't exist, kind of, right? We're turning these young kids into like professional teams. You guys know how it is. You're in it. It's so intense. And that is where if there are players who are breaking up with a sport, they're not going to be the player anymore. I'm like, there is a need for more coaches. Be a coach. Start those individual training sessions, right? So if that player was older and you saw that like they might be getting cut, I mean, it depends on the situation. Sometimes it's like, hey, you just got to buckle down on some skills. You need to go ask that coach what exactly it is that you need to do, why exactly you got cut, and learn to take that feedback, not in a negative way, but as information. And you get that information. They said, this is why it was your first touch, your spatial awareness, something like that. They figure out what that is. It's like, then you go and you work on that and you prove to them that you listen to their advice. You took their feedback. So you're coachable right off the bat. That shows that you are coachable. And then you took initiative on your own and improved. And so that's for a player that just didn't quite make it, but they could have. And then if there's the other side where it's like, they're just not athletic enough, they're not capable enough, then it's like, you're trying to play in the wrong space then. You clearly enjoy this. Let's go find a good rec league, right? And if there isn't, get creative. Find people who enjoy to play your sport and get them together and start playing. And then you can create a league, right? So just taking more ownership, not being the victim, like, oh, it's not happening for me. It's either, we take that information, we go put a training program together, reach out to, an elite coach, work with some sort of strategist, work with someone online, whoever it is, close that gap. And then you get the opportunity, or you're probably in the wrong space and look for, a more in between recreational type of opportunity, playing opportunity. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's some great advice there, some great tips there. Yeah. I love the initiative part there, and the avoiding the victim status.
Yes.
Because we live in a world where everybody pulls out the blame thrower and fires it up and just blast it everywhere. This, this coach, this other player, this, that. And I'm looking at somebody who I would say you had the odds stacked against you.
Yeah.
You had this huge family. So lots of stuff going on. Living through a divorce as a young child, not being allowed to play club soccer when you had all these other kids your age that are playing soccer. And then the, the setbacks with injuries. I mean, oh man, we could do a whole episode on girls and ACL tears,
oh my goodness.
And then, wanting to go Division I, not being able to, use a scholarship, and then bouncing around. Yeah. This is incredible. I mean, just follow in your footsteps. Just don't give up. Just don't quit. Is it just as simple as that?
It really is. It really is. Just don't give up and don't be a victim, because every time you are a victim, you have no say. You have no control. You can't change the way anything happens because you're just pointing the finger. But if I can just look in the mirror and be like, okay, well, what can I do? What can I do? And I remember, talking to my parents, I was like, I need to play on a team, like, please. And they didn't have the money. We couldn't do it. And it wasn't until I was almost in high school, my older brother, he sat my parents down. He's like, you are wasting her talent. He actually told them that. He said, you are wasting her talent. You need to let her play on a team. And I guess that was that place. But during the time that I could not play on a club team, I still trained every single day. I watched YouTube videos. I would get whoever I could to practice with me. It would be, one day one of my sisters, the other day one of my brothers, like the neighbor, the wall, the fence, whatever it was. I would use all of my resources. I was constantly trying to get our friends to go play soccer at the park. I was like, oh, who can come play? Who can come play? How do I cultivate this kind of training for myself? Even though I'm not on a team, even though I'm not on a club team, what do I do? And it's taking ownership. Even when you're young, like, we underestimate the power of a 12-year-old or 13-year-old. They are powerful. You got to just, like, they are powerful. If there's a kid listening to us, I'm like, you are so powerful. Do it. I believe in you. Go after it. Even if your parents say no, your coaches say no, whatever it is. And I had a pretty rough high school coach who was not for me at all. And I still was like, I don't care. You cannot stop me. It's just that no quit, no matter what. You do not quit.
If you're working with a team that has they want to, they really, really want to do it, but they're lacking a little bit in confidence and they don't know what the first step to take is, what would you tell them that first step is to get to this empowerment and taking that ownership of their life?
I think it comes from building confidence. I think that's kind of the root there. And the way that we build confidence is through honoring our word to ourselves, right? Doing the things that we said we were going to do.
That.
I said I was going to do this, so I'm going to do this. And also doing things that are hard, right? Accomplishing things that are hard, and then realizing, oh, I could do that. That wasn't so bad. And if you continuously honor your word to yourself over and over again, even if it's just something little, like I just realized I was like, oh, I felt a little bit insecure. I'm like, okay, what are some of the things I'm just going to honor my word to myself? And for me, it was just like, make sure I sauna every single morning for 30 minutes, no matter what. I'm going to do that for like 30 days. And just gain confidence because I'm just honoring my word to myself.
It's by putting yourself in the sauna every day for 30 days.
Yeah. Dude, because I know
so cool.
That's all it is. I know I'm going to do the things that I said I'm going to do. So with kids, I try and get them to do things on their own, and make it that it was their choice that they did it. Not just because I told them to. And they'll be like, hey, and I tell this to them. Like, this is important that you learn that you are doing this for you. Coach isn't telling you this. So I often put like a fitness element. I use fitness in that. And I'll say, all right, we're going to do 4. And I'll say, who feels like doing 5? And I'll just say, you don't have to. You don't have to. I'm not telling you to. But who wants to do 5? And I'll just put a line in the grass. Say, those of you who want to do 1 more, step to this side. And who don't, stay on this side. And so then it's them choosing, oh, I'm going to do 1 more. And it's on me. And so I will do that with my team. And, 1 steps over and then all of a sudden it's like 2 and 3. And then it's the entire team and they're all on that side. I'm like, now you guys just decided to do that. I didn't tell you to do that. And so then it's like, oh, I am feeling more confident because I choose to do hard things because I know there's a reward at the end of it.
Do you talk about that first kid that steps over as the leader?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And I tell that to my kids all the time, like, be a leader. Be a leader. I tell them,
be the one that takes ownership and shows others how to take ownership too.
Exactly. And that taking ownership. Yep.
Wow.
Please.
Thanks for sharing that, because those are the useful things that our parents can really grab onto, because they want to help a lot of their kids struggle with the confidence, and just knowing that, hey, get your kid to say something and then do it. Even if it's like the simplest, like how hard is getting in the sauna?
5 push-ups, 10 push-ups every night.
And just do what you say you're going to do. I love that, Izzy.
Yes.
That is solid gold.
Yes, that is it.
Yeah, you've said something awesome when he reclines back in his seat, because that's just like,
I hope that's not messing with the sound on this. I get into this stuff and I'm in a reclining chair today.
I'm glad. Great questions.
Well, Izzy, you've made me want to do 6, not 5. So I'm going to be that guy that everybody else does 5. I'm going to do 6.
Yes.
But this has been delightful. This has been wonderful. We are so glad you came on. And if I want you to coach my fictitious, I'm too old now, but I want you to coach my fictitious young soccer players that never play. I mean, my boys played basketball, but they did try soccer, but they ran around in a swarm, for
amoeba ball.
Yes, amoeba ball. Yes.
Yes.
You have seen that many times. So we thank you so much for joining us on the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast. And
thank you so much. You guys had amazing questions. I love this. This was so fun.
Thanks.
This is great.
We try to ask good questions.
Hey.
So let's have you give everybody the rundown again, because you will coach people virtually, correct?
Yes, I do. Yes. So pushthegoal.com. or Izi Chinchay on Instagram. All my links are on Instagram, so you can go to any of like my website from Instagram. That's IziChinchay, Izi Chinchay. It's kind of a interesting name, but if you know the spelling, then you'll find it.
Yeah, it sounds like you've done that before. You slowed down as you spelled it.
Yes.
So
yes, because they're like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's Peruvian." So my dad's from Peru. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, both of you guys. Fantastic.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your time and questions. And I'll have to get you on the Izi Chinchay Show. Some coaches.
Yes.
Hear about it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well,
see you, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you could share this episode with 5 people you think could benefit from the show. Also, please feel free to connect with me on Instagram at Izi Chinchay or my website at izichinchay.com. Thank you so much for being you. Keep being a leader and making this world a better place.